Hello, selectors, and welcome back to the Lifers Podcast. I'm Andrew, but I'm accompanied with Starfruit.
Hi, I'm back after
He's
how long has it been? Like 7 months?
7 months. Yeah, it feels like a little over half a year since the last time. You know, when they made the announcement at the last GP, they were like, "Winter GP coming up," and then it's spring. So
Well, when it was held, it was technically when.
yeah, I guess maybe the solstice or the equinox, whatever it is, hadn't happened yet exactly. But I don't know. That's when spring break was happening in Florida. I remember Disney was packed, and then I made a mistake of going to a bar after the GP. It was just full of spring break people.
Yeah, you told me, and then we just ended up at Denny,
Yeah,
where the natural habitat of most card game players go.
that's true. Well, Steffer, welcome back to the channel after so long. This time you've got top eight. You got fifth in the Swiss, I think. Swiss, right?
No, it's third in Swiss and fifth in top eight cut.
Got it. Well, you did well, man. You did it. Consistency, man, is pretty good. I'm still struggling with that myself. But you made it there with Ange.
Yeah, I really wanted to win, but top eight, I can't complain.
Yeah, it was also a really strange top eight. I didn't I If you were to be like, all right, name the top eight that you expected at that GP, I would have named Ange and I would have named some form of Esper. I don't think I would have named. I would have said Milalune showed up at the tournament. I don't think I would have named it top eight. Uh, Umir was not on my bingo card in the slightest. And the Dasherana showed up too. So it was a pretty crazy top eight, to be honest with you.
The entire top eight were all different lyrics except Ange. That was the only lyric that duped.
Yep. And no,
But
not a single green card. That's the other thing that showed up.
yeah, don't worry. Green will show up. Just, just not now.
Yeah, I think one set we'll start seeing a little bit of a little bit of green finally start showing up.
Yeah, well, Green has a lot of strong cards coming in the next set, but we're not talking about this format.
For right now, we're talking about the virtual format, baby. Well, and then speaking of the virtual format, you're the one who brought the virtuals. You want to talk a little bit about what brought you to that decision? Why you decided to come up with this GP with this successful Ange deck?
Okay, so when I was testing for this GP, so the big three decks that I expected were Remember, uh, playing like Mono Means, uh, ZR2s, Exias, just the good stuff, Black White, Blue Pile.
Mm-hmm.
Sosh, I wasn't sure if people were gonna play Shimizuki's build with Makina and Madoka, or they were gonna play Miko Miko with Miko Miko and Makina.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's still like Ultra Superhero Pile, and I was expecting a lot of the beer. So, um, the way I built the deck, uh, it prepped for a lot of the mirror. So, I think you could see 4 Himawari in the list,
Yeah, let's go right
which
over to it.
is yeah. So Himawari is like one of the best cards in the mirror because you essentially just play it, and if they don't kill it, it'll just get shadow, and that will just lock down the lane since no way for the Ange player to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But even against non-virtual decks, just having a 12k shadow will just shut down the lane to mitigate tons of damage.
Yeah, totally. And one of the few ways to get guards too, right?
Yeah, it is the only card that you could just play and try to dig for a guard. A lot of people were not on this, which was very surprising. This is like one of the best cards in the deck. Uh, Especially when you look at like previous JP lists when they held like a Niji only event.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone played almost 4 Himawari. The only decks that didn't were like the black center decks like Bito and Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were playing white center, you always played 4 Himawari.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was pleasantly surprised. I was testing with one of my locals who was stubbornly on Toko, and even he was running Himawari. It was working a lot better than you'd think it would.
yeah, the car is really, really good. You could have like really strong boards where you just go like double Himawari pass, and then they just can't out the 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and the second card that's meant for the mirror is Petra. This one is a level 2. When you play it, you mill the top 30. If the 3 cards are virtual, she'll get plus 4k. Because this is an enter, you cannot blank it with Alira or Yuki Memoria, so she will still stay 12k. And this is like important because Toko and Lise both cannot out this because Toko can only vanish at 8k
Hmm.
and Lise can only bounce a 10k.
Hmm.
So it gets out of the power threshold. So as long as you can have one the virtual stick, you can put a Kirame. Kirame will have Shadow 1. So it means they cannot out the Petra with their assist, and they cannot out the Kirame with the assist. So the only way they could like try to open a hole is hard draw like a Kohaku.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening on audio, I'm currently doing a screen share so that way you guys can see what the cards do as well as he talks about them.
Hmm.
Yeah, it seems like a solid way to just basically put out like walls right up front, and then still bounce the Signies, and then get in your pretty aggressively tilted damage in here. Was there any of the cards that stick out to you? I mean, like I think for it's probably worth mentioning for people who are looking at this deck for the first time ever. Totos do a lot of work too.
Oh yeah, Kohaku is uh so good. Just uh just a white Lancelot essentially.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, the fact that it hits, it almost. I want to point out that this card is almost like single-handedly warped the GP format, where people were just playing more level twos in general, just because this card just existed. Period.
I don't think Kohaku affected that much deck building. A lot of people still play the same amount of ones and twos that they normally played. The card that definitely affected deck building was Chigusa. Uh, this is like one of the main reasons why I played Ange, because Chigusa. If your deck was not prepared for Chigusa, you just lost.
Yeah,
And what I mean by that is that if your deck did not play a removal assist, then Ange players can just freely slam down Chigusa and
hmm
just declare a double swing on you.
yeah. I did notice, and you're probably right that this card also was something that really pushed towards it. Was that there was a lot of people running double one stops now, mostly so that way they could, I assume. Um, do an early one stop to stop the bleed damage, but also keep a assist like Machina in reserve to basically just hold it to try to threaten out the Chigasas from just taking over the field.
Yeah, double one stop was really prevalent during the GP. It was good against virtuals. Against Remember and Sash, those decks are really slow, so you don't really need a full stop. You just need to hit a one stop. Because in the end, most decks are just opening one or two and trying to play like a grindy game.
So outside of that, we've got the your normal like one stops that, or sorry, one level one signies that you've been running, or that people would run in a virtuals deck in general, including an Akene. Um, did that also help you? Looks like you were running a four of for that in order to wall up a little bit more at the early levels.
Yeah, Akane, Kirame, those two are like the best level ones that you should be playing. Um, Kirame is just driver's ed, being able to uh blank level one assist,
Hmm.
and Aguina is really strong. I had like a few games where I went Petra, Kirame, and Kohaku, and they cannot uh kill the Kirame with their Makino Wind Slash,
Yep.
and their assist will just be dead for like 3 turns, and sometimes they will just play it just to add back a level 1 and get like little just little value off it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, Akane is there for to hit like really big numbers. If you go like double Akane turn one, that's still 7k level one. Um, and with Yuika, you get really big numbers because Yuika will buff your field by 3k.
Mhm.
Akane will buff your field by 2k. So you get 5k power to everyone. So there were like a few games where I had Yuika, Chigusa, and Akane. So the Yuika would hit 17k, Chigusa would hit 15k, and Akane, when there's a Celine Girls Academy, she'll get plus 2k, which Chigusa is actually. So she'll get 2k power for her passive. She'll get 2k from her own party buff, and she'll get 3k from Yuika, and then you'll have a 10k Akane.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty big. It dodges a lot of different things there. And I mean, yeah, you're right to say that the Chigusa, it's not only Chigusa, but also Todo Kohaku is also a Celine Girls Academy. It's like they really did toss that one on specifically the best level, the best white cards that you're probably playing anyways in the deck.
Yeah, they put it all on the like most offensive one.
So, what card I do have to question you about? You've got three Elira Pandora. Um, in my own personal testing with Ange, I found her to be an excellent Signe. Do you want to talk her about a little bit with that one?
Yeah, she's good. Being able to like turn one, play her scry two cards, and bottom deck bad cards to hopefully try to draw into a guard is really nice. Blanking, remember Memoria, forcing out an Exia. It does a lot of it has a lot of utility behind it.
Yeah, I found that you hit the nail on the head too. The deck sometimes struggles to get itself guards, and Elira can help you marginally dig for it, which any amount is pretty good. As far as the Exia thing goes, too, there's always the I know Yuki is the common Signy that we use to abuse Exia with, right? You open a lane, move it into the to a different lane, so that way you can get around Exia's trigger. But Elira does it too. It just does it in a weirder way. You just poke the Exia, force them to name a lane, and then the Ange kicks in and is able to open up whatever lane was not picked.
Yeah, people also don't target the lane that's in front of Exia. They usually target the weak lane.
Hmm.
So you could just play a Signy in front of Exia, open the lane that's not the Exia, not the lane they lock down,
Hmm.
and then from there you could just attack over the Exia, do one damage, and then the third lane is just whatever. You could put like a Yuika there just so you could get like uh free card advantage and free power.
Yeah, I mean it does help that you can down that Signy specifically, so that way you're still dodging life bursts as needed.
Yeah, Yuika is especially important too because this deck does not have a way to out remember Memoria if you don't draw a Lyra, so you could just play the Yuika and just attack over it.
Yeah, if you can't go around the problem, just go through the problem. Is what you're saying there.
Yeah, essentially.
Uh, all right, and then to round off the main deck, I mean, I guess you got two more cards that we can talk about here too. There's Kokoro. Kokoro seems like a pretty good card. Has that did that give you any mileage in your games?
Oh yeah, Kokoro is really good. So again, this deck doesn't have ways to get to guards really consistently.
Mhm.
So sometimes what you'll end up doing a lot is actually you find the one guard, you guard with it, and then you just keep cycling the one guard. Like by round one, I just play Kokoro, I just play Lise, I just cycle the one guard like constantly.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, if you can make that one guard last you three guards, it's pretty great. And outside of that too, it's not like the Ange games are terribly long. They are an aggro deck, so if you're saying I'm guarding 3 out of 5 turns, I mean that's still 70-80% of the game that you're you're guarding there.
Yeah, the shadow comes up to a lot. When you play against like slow games,
Mhm.
you could go have a board Himawari, Kokoro, and a level 1. So you can make your level 1 have Shadow. Himawari will get Shadow. And Kokoro herself, she's pretty big, level 30, 12k. So it makes your board really hard to open. and that's what happened in my top 8. Um, I bursted a guard, and I added back nothing. I Petra milled 3, I milled the second guard, and he ushed me for my last 2 guards,
Hmm.
and, I just used the Kokoro to just, salvage a bunch of guards to try to, like, live the game. In the end, I still lost, but it definitely made the game closer than, um, what others thought.
Yeah, straight up
Where it's gonna be
gave
like
you more
it's gonna
legs than
be
you would have.
yeah, people yeah, I had someone say, like, "Yo, I saw you at, like, 2 cloth, and the Sauce player was at 5, I come back, and then it was, like, 0 to 1."
Yeah, exactly that. Um,
Yeah,
the last thing to talk about the deck, and there's people on both sides of this camp, so I'd love to hear your opinion on it. The Furrin slash Furrin combo. So you're running
I never
two.
did it.
You never did it, no.
I never did it. It's just there as a Zaki burst, because cards like H2O, Remember, Exia, they're really hard to out, so if you just get lucky and flip this, then you just get rid of the problem instantly.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I never had a situation where I drew, like, both of them. Every time I drew different slash, I just enter charged it away.
Yeah, hey, enter is still a thing you need in this game, so it's still
Yeah,
definitely worth doing. You can do those high rolls, and sometimes, aggro kind of needs it a little bit. With life bursts that can stack up against you. Sometimes that's all you need is just one lucky life burst on an aggro deck to break through.
yeah. And plus the thing is too, is, like, if you do have the chance to do it, it is, like, one of the few, like, combinations of cards that will help you out essentially anything.
Yeah.
'Cause, uh, if your opponent plays a 13K,
Hmm.
Ange has no way to out it, essentially, so if you just draw Burn plus Fern Slash, you just instantly out it, and then the Fern will charge 1, so it's not the worst, you just paid 1 enter for it.
Yeah, I suppose if you didn't want to go on the Furrin slash Furrin combo, you could theoretically use Lazulite Flash, but that seems to be a good segue to talk about your Elrig deck more than anything else, because you didn't decide to go with the Lazulite Flash. You decided to go with Celine Girls Academy for the mill. 2,000 some hundred mil. Um, why did you come to that conclusion to do the mill over the Lazulite Flash?
Oh, the mill is the scariest thing when your opponent dashes you,
Hmm.
because 1 is just a free guaranteed damage,
Yeah.
and you get life burst knowledge because you count their entire trash,
Hmm.
see what they have left, and then try to estimate uh how many bursts they have in their cloth.
Yeah.
And especially too is if your if your opponent gets, like, really unlucky and they have a servant as the burst, it'll just add back nothing, and the dash will just continue to hit them for more damage.
Yeah, there is that definitely to note too. Is that mill outside of just being a really great way to enter deny and deal damage, it also has utility in the fact that it takes away the trash, which happens to be where a lot of people keep like almost a second hand in there. So I guess yeah, you're right to say that that is a very useful tool.
Yeah, you could turn off Halasta Sabers if they don't fire it early.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing too is that when your opponent makes really strong boards, like they go double Exia,
Hmm.
um, you don't want to fight through that, so you just slam down 2,000 cards into the trash, just force 1 damage through, so you don't have to deal with any board state.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And then there's also, I guess, a benefit to. I'd like to get your take on it, where tempo wise, right? Like Lazulite Flash might buy you an extra turn to do more damage, right? Than this Celine Girls Academy can. But the flip end is Celine Girls Academy gives you the damage like right now, and I suppose there are probably some matchups where that matters, right? Clockwise.
Yeah, when you go to 3, um, most of the time you just gotta do everything. You gotta do OPG, you gotta slam down your pieces. 'Cause that's the chance where they have the least amount of defense, so you just try to do as much damage as you can.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
you don't really need Lazulite because if you're smart enough with your collapse, you only need the 2.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And speaking of the pieces here, Sling Girls Academy, I think overwhelmingly definitely better than Salvage. I don't think there's a question for that one. This one's freer, gets you more enter, and gets you similar cards. But a question on that one is, I, clearly you have to use it before the after school, so you're using it every game. But what turn do you end up using it on? Are you using it like turn two to figure out your hand a little bit better for that sort of like defensive turn two, or are you trying to use it turn three to push damage?
Uh, so I would use it like turn 1 or 2 if I brick. If draw no level ones, just play this and then just try to grab something. You lose an enter, but that's nothing when you able to play the game.
Yeah, yeah, losing the game feels worse than losing an enter.
Yeah. Ideally, I would try to hold it as much as I can to try to hit the XT4 to get the one at.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Um,
But uh, yeah, once you go to 3, you just play both the pieces if you haven't done so already.
and I'm realizing what you said makes sense here, that you'd use it turn one. You don't have any assists that filter your hand, right? You've got yourself a Lizzie bounce and a also a Toko vanish as your level
Yeah,
one's assist.
yeah, these assists are a bit greedy because there's no draw assist.
Yeah.
So so you do have to rely on the piece to supplement that lack of card advantage.
Hmm, hmm. Um, which makes sense to me too. In my testing, there was like no there. I had to get something that hits a level two. Granted, in my version of Ange, I was running I was running oh god, why am I brain farting on the name of it? Over pursuits. So I was weak to level twos. So I needed these things. But I mean these hit level twos, right? Like that's also still an upside here because your Totos Kohakus are hitting your level one. So are you saying that these are like needed to complete that puzzle for opening the lanes?
Uh, I guess so. Yeah, when you go second, it lets you open 3 lanes. Kohaku hits the one, and then if your opponent has the 2/2s, you just hit both of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Moving on to the last card to talk about, or last two cards to talk about, your two level two assists. Can you give me some insight as to why the Liz that brings a guard back and the Toko that brings a target white Signy back?
Uh, to be honest, I actually don't know what Toko's other assists do. Other than I only know the level 1 and the level 2 that I
I
just
think
played.
if I remember the other one, I know Liz has two other ones that I'm not thinking of, but one of them is a double vanish. It's basically Ange, but the vanish one. So it vanishes two.
But that's main phase though,
Mid
right?
phase, totally. Yeah, not a great card. I don't
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
is.
Like this is just Machina line. Kill something on your level 1 and then your level 2, you minus 12 and you salvage something back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, I guess Lise is like a little bit more in depth to talk about.
Yeah.
So, uh, the options that you could play for the level 2 are the one I currently have. Uh, the one that bounce a Signy and then you salvage back a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other one, which is Ice Wall, you stop 2 and then you could pay extra to look top, I think top 5 and then you add 2 cards.
Two cards to hand, ice wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, in the end, I just went with the bounce one because since this format it's really slow, people are just opening 1 lane at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you could just play the one. You could just use this as a one stop, and then it's also removal. But in the matchups where you just have to enter to spare, it is technically a 2 stop since you add back a guard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get the upside of you can say glow because this is the only cards that have that typo.
Yeah.
Look, the one guy at my locals every time says glow, and that annoys me. But yeah, these guys technically they glow. So let's talk about some of your games here. You did well. Obviously, got into top eight here. How did your rounds in the Swiss portion and the final round in your top eight match? How did that go?
Actually, before we go to the rounds, I do want to explain some like other card
Oh,
choices.
absolutely. Go for it. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay, okay. So I know some people were playing Finana in like really early lists,
Hmm.
and you see in this list there's no Finana, and the reason why is because Finana is really bad right now because it just one like a worse remember, and two, um, the reason why JP in the modern like Niji list played Finana is because they played the Eldor Burst Rush.
Hmm.
So you Eldor Searcher to try to stack a burst, and then you Burst Rush, which is you crush your cloth, you heal one, and then for the next life burst you hit for that turn, it will proc twice. So
Hmm.
you build the entire deck to be like really greedy with the life burst, and Finana is just one of them, which is just a bounce one drop one.
Yep, that makes sense. I know that Skewer, he wasn't running any Finanas, I don't think, but he ran four Remembers, which is Finanas Remember at home.
Yeah. I wanted to keep the pure virtual stuff to keep the consistency with Chigusa.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I was thinking of playing Lulu Suzuhara. That's an old Key Zero card.
Yeah, that's the Sandbaka team signy, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is on team, so you can in theory just play like one copy of it. It's nice against like the Ush decks because you could just force yourself to deck out and then you just won't take the refresh damage.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't end up playing it because it's a black Signy, so it becomes a little bit hard to get back, or have access to it because Toko can only add back white Signies. So the only way to get to it is you just hard draw into it, or you just find it off the after school.
Yeah, and
And I just
if I remember correctly too, it has a black cost as well, right? To trigger it.
the black cost is fine because there's three Petras, so you could actually pay for it as well.
Three Petras, and you also put one. I don't know how to pronounce this card.
One Yotsuha,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Also, oh, this Yotsuha is a 40th card. This could be in theory anything.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't know what to play for that life burst slot, so I just put in like a 12th level one, and it has a deep burst.
Yeah.
And oh, and also I guess like some other decks I was thinking of instead of this. I really wanted to make Tama work. I really tried, but Tama was not very good this format. Uh, like I said before, um, remember Sash and Ange are the three decks you have to face.
Yep.
Um, Tama has a bad matchup versus Remember and Ange because Remember will discard you out and then just blank you. So you'll just draw two, and then you don't have your lyric to try to force damage through.
Hmm.
And Ange uh does more damage than you, so you just lose in like damage racing.
Yeah, it theoretically also wins a little bit on the resource race too, because their cards are a little bit lower to the ground cost wise.
Mm.
Uh,
Also, especially like the version with Umar and Day Shield, that
mhm.
one doesn't play a removal assist, so Chukusa actually can just kill you because you could go open three.
Yep.
Days could only stop three hits, so Chigusa will just force two damage. Um, yeah, so block the Drixing, and then you have your lyric hits, and then you kind of just die.
Yeah, I think that's something similar I found in my testing too. Was that Clear was close. It was still a very powerful deck, but it just did not beat the other two decks that were going to be really good in the meta.
Mhm.
What other decks were you trying out for this before you settled on Ange?
I played Remember a lot. I almost played Remember too, but then I last minute switched. Uh, I wasn't really confident on Remember's ability to damage race,
Yep.
but I think in hindsight, probably should have just played Remember, but it's okay. It's hindsight 2020.
Yeah, I swapped over to Remember, and I was on Launch also prior to that. I swapped to Remember 2 weeks prior, and I liked it. I had my unfortunate double loss to sort of pull me out, but outside of that, it performed well. But yeah, you did need to, like you were saying, I had to change up the main deck quite dramatically to put a lot more damage output in it to make up for the fact that the deck itself just was slow. It was just a slow deck.
Yeah, you'll just try to discard them out, and then do have enough damage to hopefully, because when you discard them out, the boards are gonna be really weak. So at that point, you could try to capitalize on that board state.
Yep. All right, cool. So, I mean, did you have any other card choices or decks that you wanted to talk about?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oh, I was thinking about playing Monica, Float, and Dub over the Lise
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted a draw assist. But I figured like if everyone's prepared for Ange and slamming down like really big signies, we want the Lise as an extra form.
Yeah, certainly, it makes sense to me. I think my version had had the float and dub just so that way I could get easy access to a little bit more card draw to try to get to guards. But I totally understand why you would go instead with the Machina version of Toko and just Lize because Liz again is also one of those ways that it's an out to a 13K, right? Or 15K. Like you don't normally have those
Yeah, you just
in
bounce
this.
anything.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, how did the rounds fare you? What did you end up to score wise?
Okay, let me see if I can remember the rounds off the top of my head. Round one, I played against Urif, and they were playing the Utol's package. Um, that was like a little difficult because he had Typhon and had Utils,
Hmm.
and they're 15k, so uh, you can't hit 15k spot on once per turn.
Hmm.
So that's where Delize definitely helped come in because you could just bounce the Util. Round two, I played against Mel. This was extreme. This was like a little unfortunate because he misplayed. He slammed down energy door and forgot to grow.
Doi!
And I felt really bad because I did not deserve that win.
Yeah, they
Round
happen, man. This is the GP. You
it,
know,
ha-
you got to you
it,
got to
hap-
you know your plays.
it happens. Sometimes you gotta take it a little bit slower. Round three was against Scalp actually. We were both testing this deck and we played the exact same list. So it
Yeah.
was a little unfortunate that we just paired up against each other.
Well, sometimes
Our game
sometimes you just got a team kill, man. As a guy who plays with my wife all the time in tournaments, happens more often than I care to admit.
Yeah. We our game was so sad too, because I think our game lasted like 5 minutes. And after we were done, we just got up and we were just talking with Tetris and Neat and so and Dusel was like, oh yeah, I just got to buy and everyone else is still playing. Uh the game went I went double Kirame, and then he goes, plays double Kirame, would just do one damage. Next turn, I'm like, I need to draw a Kohaku. I didn't draw a Kohaku, so I just played Petra, mill 3.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just hit for 1 with the open lane Kirame.
Hmm.
This turn, he can't out the 12k Petra, so he just plays the 1 Kohaku and bounces 1 lane. And then on the following turn, I go to 3 first, so I just like Ange collab away his entire board, and then I just mill him 2000 OPG, and then he lives, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm at 0 life. You're at 5. I can."
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to make up for in one. Although Ange is the deck, if you're gonna do 5 damage in one turn, Ange is potentially the one that gets you there. Um,
Technically 6, because 3 open lanes,
mhm.
um, the Lyric attack, the OPG, and then you're gonna mill them the 2000. So that's the 6 damage.
Yeah, why not be greedy at that point too? Just throw a Chigusa in there, right?
Yeah, sometimes like I slam down Chigusa just so it forces out an assist, and then you do it on like another turn.
Yeah, that does seem like a pretty good tech. Like if you're just like, I got two Chigasas in hand, you don't have an answer for the second one, so let's get this one out of the way.
Yeah, there are times too where I play the Chigusa. It's not correct to double swing there, but the potential threat of just taking another damage scares a lot of people, so they immediately kill it.
All right. Well, so you got your team kill there. What were the rest of your matches like?
Round 4, I think I played against Skewer. He was on Nanashi assist and Amasis, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Second.
yeah. It was like a deck of a lot of 4-ofs and also virtuals.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I won against him. Uh, in round 5. This was my only loss in Swiss. This was against the second place Sosh player.
Yep.
I accidentally misplayed and collab when I didn't need to.
Hmm.
If I held it for an extra turn, I could have won that, but it was my fault on not playing optimally.
Yeah, or we'll call it karma for the for the round one or round two Mel player.
Yeah, karma for round 2. Round 6, I played against Altier. He was on Remember.
Yep.
Um, I had a board state where I had one cloth, and I specifically did not get extra cards. Left myself at 12 cards, so he couldn't push me down to
Hmm.
0. And I had Lise Toko assist still both up,
Yeah.
and I had a guard in my enter. So if he tries to like, I don't know, innocent battle my trash away, I still had a guard in the enter to get back. So I was just in a state where I just had no way to die.
Yeah. Just locked it.
Yeah, and then round 7 was Sosh. Um, and
Di-
yeah, that
Different player,
and
right? I assume
yeah, different player.
it was a lot of
Uh,
Sosh at that event.
it was a different player, but they were still playing the same assist.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then I went 6-1, and then I died in top 8.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still, regardless, congrats at getting into top 8 in the first place. I mean, that look, man, that's still a feat on its own.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I was like a little scared too because uh I wasn't sure if I go X2 I would still make it, so I just had to play assuming I would get knocked out if I lose uh like a loss.
Yeah, it was definitely a scary place to be at. X2, yeah, I think two X2s made it, maybe even three.
I believe it's 3 X2s.
Yeah, there
If
was
I recall
if
correctly.
this was the event where if you're gonna go X2, all right, this is the event with based on the amount of people that showed up. This is the event to do it, I guess.
Yeah, Vegas there was only one X2 that did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the carnival player.
Yeah, Quaid.
Yep. Well, cool. And so your top 8 match was against who that you had the unfortunate loss to?
It was my round 5 Sasha.
It was a grudge match.
It was a rematch, yeah.
Got it. Is your
I mean,
Sosh match usually bad or is it like 50-50? What do you think that was the thing that kind of plateaued there?
it's like roughly 50-50. Like you could like definitely stall out um Sosh out,
Hmm.
so you could still live past the OPG and the full moon because you have so much shadow signal.
Hmm.
Uh the part that got me is like I just didn't play with a guard for like 2 turns, so I just took a lot of early damage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, but still, I mean, top 8 is good. You still got all those sweet top 8 prizings. Two, that's your second Ush, right? Like I think they did the Ush prizing again, right?
Yeah, they did the Ush pricing.
So you
I'm
got
still waiting for the color change. I need slam down like three mode Ush.
oh, it's gotta be coming, right? It's gotta be coming. Uh,
Eventually.
yeah, I also am pretty eager to see it. Not that I'm tired of virtuals or anything, but I also would like to see some more colors be able to be represented by opening up the
I
color descriptions.
I really wanted for them to do color change for this GP specifically
Hmm.
because I thought the format in between virtuals and Disana and JP format was the part where people got super creative with a lot of decks.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to see that creativity show up at this GP because it'll be like an unexplored format that people will be trying out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I ironically I saw Pigeon. I don't know if you saw it. He posted his locals had a tournament where they lifted the color restriction, so
yeah,
people could
he
try it
played
out.
some sort of Death Beam Diva deck
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Aya.
he played Aya and he got first place with it with Death Beam Diva, like 5 color Aya, and he put down as his deck listing. It was 5 color Aya. This is my number 1 achievement in Wecross. And then the second deck list that he put in was the one that he got first place with at this GP, and he said my GP winning deck list, also my second greatest achievement.
Yeah. I think just having a color change would be like so cool.
It's
But
definitely a
it's
breath of
it's
fresh
hard
air.
because a lot of the decks just ended up being like you play Ultra Superheroes or you play Virtuals, and you just play like Dashiron.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and Dash is not too different from Virtuals. Basically, you ended up being Ultra Superheroes pile or a push damage as quick as possible pile.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really like this format too much because it was hard to like think outside the box when everything was because when you try a different color combination and then you look at the pieces that are available
Hmm.
and you just cry about how it's not as good as Ush.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's basically always that way. Ironically, it's actually a little harder for these Esper piles to want to do Ush moving forward because it's just like it's hard to find a red assist that also works with your blue game plan. I mean, X does it. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different type of deck.
Oh, Ultra Superheroes, even with the two modes, is still like strong.
I've been finding as I've been doing the deck buildings for the next set coming up. I've been thinking, I just probably still just play Ultra Superheroes for 2 modes and call it a day. But going into the next format as we come to close sort of to our time here, what are you looking forward to? Are you thinking that this Ange deck still has legs? Do you think that there would be changes to this Ange deck specifically? And if you weren't going to do the Ange deck, is there a different deck that you'd be looking forward to playing?
Definitely not this build of Ange. Going to this you had to change it up. So you had to play Eldora Searcher and Burst Rush,
Hmm.
and you just play like really high rolly with your burst. Like the cards you will swap out are the Petras because you don't need those anymore. Um, you'll swap out the Yotsuha, and then you'll just play like the Finanas as like the Saki burst that you could hit off Burst Rush.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then after because you play Finana, you're upping your count like a lot. That's 4 extra level 3s. So you'll just cut out the Himawaris and then you'll just play lower level Signies to balance it out.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely gives you the higher chance at hitting those bursts too in the beginning of mulligans.
yeah, especially when like Himawari is like really good and like the games the longer the games go, Himawari gets better and better.
Hmm.
But this enough becomes like really fast metagame. So
They can
you just
very
try to
reliably open up 3 lanes.
yeah, you definitely try to just try to sack your way through it.
Yeah, 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 makes sense. So do you think that you'd be playing the Ange deck, or do you think you've got your eye on one of these new Desona Elrigs?
We have new technology, man. Can't be playing the same old stuff. Like this and
I
a
agree with you. Agree with you.
like this and us like new cool stuff. You have color change. Like, why would do you want to play this? Uh Funny enough, if they did color change at Florida, I was still gonna play Ange, but I
Yeah.
was gonna play Red Ange, where it plays 3 mode Ush
Uh huh.
with and you don't play like the virtuals, you just play like Lancelot. Uh so you get Lancelot's Romeos and a Flatro. So you have red cards for X Echo,
Hmm.
and then you play Crossfire in case people were like also being greedy with the color change.
Yeah. Go to the
And
top.
then you go to the top, 3 Modosh, and then your black assist will be Urif just to
Hmm.
deck them out.
Hmm.
And the deck was super cool. I was playing with Skav, just playing like some dumb color change variant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, and it also plays Orochi, so you just enter burn them as well.
Yeah, that seems like
The
that would do it.
Yeah, the red Orochi from set 10 that no one remembers.
Yeah, I think that's the one that Enter burns too, right? I think that's what it does. Is basically over
It
the course of its lifespan, it Enter burns too.
uh yeah, on the start of attack phase, if your opponent has 4 more enter, you burn 1. when
Mhm.
she attacks, if your opponent has 2 more in it, she also burns 1.
Yeah. Makes
No
sense.
one no one ever wants to let it resolve, so they just try to kill it, but they're wasting energy to, like, kill it, so it's like,
Still enter
well,
parentheses
I
same
got my
game.
trade already.
Makes sense. All right, man. Looks like we're getting to the end of our time here. I just wanted to thank you once again for coming on the podcast for a second time in a row. Congratulations on consistent top eights, and wish you best in the future, dude. I think you really killed it this time. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give to any testing partners, any stores, anything? Your socials, if you want to shout those out. Anything you want here.
Sure, I'll go through the list. Shout out to Scob, Kokako, and Tetris for helping me, like, test a lot. Shout out to Hellfire, Tetris again, and Neat for making a great tournament. Shout out to Carta, like, like, in the beginning they had a bad rep, but now they're really pulling themselves together and making, like, these great
Yeah.
um and uh shout out to my locals, CartQuest, Silk Road. That's where I always go to play.
Yeah, good stomping grounds to test things out with. I'll second your shout out to Hellfire too. Thank you for Dexus, man. It is insanely helpful to have that specific site.
Oh yeah, dude, that cross EU deck building site is so
Yeah,
garbage.
it's not great. It's not great. For any of our listeners who are still here, check out the Dexus site. Check out Dexus on Patreon too. I think you get there's you can become a patron for it, $5 a month, to help keep those servers up and running. I know they were a little tight at one point. I think he's got them figured out now with some help of some Patreons.
Yeah, definitely a great site. We're trying to implement. Well, I say we yet, but I'm not doing anything. Hellfire is trying to implement um, JP and J like JP language and then like JP Diva All Star. That way we could have like a lot more people using the site as well.
Yeah, I saw that actually. Super helpful too because I'm always trying to build the deck lists a little bit in advance of the meta so people can have a jumping off point. The fact that it's on Dex is ready for me to go so I can make videos on it is pretty insane. Uh,
Yeah,
any anyways, man. Again, thanks for coming and to our Life Burst podcast listeners, this is the end of it. If you guys have any questions about this deck list, go ahead and you can either message on the card game server, and I'm sure someone will get to answering those, or you can message in my comments down below, and we can probably try to get some of those questions answered. Thanks again for coming, and may everyone, including you, always flip a life burst. See you
thank you for
later.
having me.
Yeah.